So, welcome back to technical communication class. I guess by now you would have understood that literally all those myths that you had been assuming by now would have been gradually eventually getting vanished. English, we have been schooled in English medium. Talking about English is so easy. Understanding and then implementing and executing at different situation and circumstances is very easy. And I guess your opinion would have changed, isn't it? Gradually you will even have a better opinion by the time you end up with technical communication class. So, let me now tell you the topic of the lecture. Today's topic is technical lecture 1 and 7 C's of communication. Hey, see technical lecture. The moment I say technical lecture, what I mean to say, a technical lecture can be anywhere. See, I have written certain questionable words that will be helping you out to understand how my lecture is moving ahead. Indeed, the lecture that I am delivering is also a kind of technical lecture. What I did basically, I started my lecture by saying that what is the topic at hand and how I am going to go for it, right. So, technical lecture means it has a structure, as I have already proved in the first unit lecture that technical lectures or any language use is completely scientific in nature, and anything which is scientific, anything that is physical, whether physical concepts or mental concept, need to have structures, and if it has a structure, it is a system. If it is a system, it has lots of other things that I have already mentioned, and at the same time I will be mentioning today in the class. Technical lecture means what? The person who is delivering is an expert, and let me take the liberty of defining expert. Expert means what? He has dived deep into the concepts, deep into the subject matter. He have understood the arguments, he have understood the dimensions, he have understood the micro and macro concepts related to the subject at hand, and now he is delivering. And who is at the receiving end? Receiving end person may be a student like you who is for the first time listening to the subject, maybe, or maybe is listening to the topic for the first time. When these situation comes and arises, what happens? Students are completely perplexed, and there are certain requirements from student side and at the same time from the expert side. There is a saying that says that you may be knowledgeable, you may be an expert, but communication, the moment communication comes, what happens? You might have seen, might have come across lots of scientists, lots of professors. Their knowledge is well renowned, they are established experts, but the moment their delivery of dialogues is concerned related to their subject matter, they may not be that sound, they may not be that effective. So, having knowledge is one thing, and knowing the skill to deliver that knowledge is also one of the very important aspect, and that could be possible only if you know how and what is to be taken into consideration while you deliver the subject matter in a technical lecture, right. And why is this taught to you? Why this topic was decided by AKTU? Definitely there might be a question in your brain that why AKTU decided technical lecture as a topic in a technical communication. Do you know what? You from now and then, the moment you entered this institution as an engineering student, all that lecture that you face on the day-to-day basis is a technical lecture. And not only that, even while you attend any seminar, conference, workshop, orientation or a guest lecture, expert talk, everything is a technical lecture. When I say technical lecture, what I mean to say is somebody has a certain techniques, he has developed certain techniques related to that particular subject matter. When I say technique, means something which is less perceived, something that is less understood by the community of experts in that particular subject. When I say expert, it does not mean that if a professor is there who is very good at physics, it does not mean that there are no other professors who are good at physics, there are no other scientists, and all the scientists are equally competent, but they have their different approaches and attitude. They have different approaches and attitude. And if they have their different approaches and different attitude, what I mean to say is they have different assumptions, they have different techniques, different orientation, different understanding of the same subject matter. Fine. Now, technical lecture, where is this delivered? In classrooms. Where it is delivered? In workshop, as I have said, as in seminar, in conferences. And how it is delivered? The moment you know, you will be able to bring out maximum out of that lecture. When I say you will be able to bring out maximum out of that lecture, what I mean to say is you will be able to generate immense facts and information related to that subject, because he is an expert. An expert always has certain unique things to share, and if he is sharing certain unique things, means you should be alert, focused, attentive, full of concentration. Your listening skills, I am talking about your listening skills, right? And not only this, being alert also, a child, a small child, you know how he pays attention to whatever you say. You definitely might be in your family member, then definitely you might be having certain child. Whenever you say anything, he very keenly listens to you, but he tries to figure out what the concept you are trying to share, but he is not well trained, well skilled to bring out maximum information out of you, right? So, that is the reason why you must know how and what are the skills, what are the techniques, what are the orientation, what are the mindset that one should have in order to bring out maximum benefit out of any technical lecture. Now, where I have already said, who is an expert who has immense knowledge, who has dived deep into the concepts, micro concepts, macro concepts, and he is worth listening. He is worth listening. If you do not listen to him, means you are missing a lot. Do you remember that story that I have shared in one of my lecture, Abhimanyu? Why Abhimanyu was killed in the Chakravyuha? Just because while he was in the womb of his mother, when Arjuna was telling the secrets to knock down the ninth Chakravyuha, his mother slept and he was deprived of that secrecy of knocking down the Chakravyuha, and finally he was killed, right? And I don't wish that you get somewhere failed just because you do not have a proper, appropriate, correct information which you should have, you must have, so that you could use at that given point of time. Fine. So, technical lecture, who is an expert? Why? Why? Because knowledge sharing, knowledge dissemination process takes place in the technical world by the technical lectures, right? So, you have to listen to him to gain maximum knowledge. How? How we will be getting down gradually into details by understanding the different techniques, what is he sharing, what are the concepts that he is sharing at a macro level or at a micro level, and with what orientation, with what mindset I should perceive, I should listen to the lecture so that I can get maximum. See, technical lecture, as I have already said, it is scientific and scientific knowledge is being disseminated, so it must have a structure. If it must have a structure, means he is talking about certain objectives. Listen to what is the objective of his lecture. You should be very clear about what is the objective of his lecture, what is the purpose of his lecture, what problem at hand is he targeting, what is the problem he wants to decode. his technical lectures, all the lectures right now I am trying to, my problem at hand is why students are not able to get maximum benefit out of a technical lecture is my objective of my lecture. That is the reason I have taken the topic technical lecture. Same is the case if a physics faculty is teaching, if a chemistry faculty is teaching, or if say a CS faculty is teaching, or EC or EE faculty is teaching, he has a particular problem. If he is teaching a particular subject and in that particular subject he has selected a particular topic, means that topic has a problem, and every problem, why that problem is felt, perceived, because there were certain questions in the mind of the creator of that problem, and those questions are solved related to physical dimension or mental dimension, physical dimension or mental concepts, and those problems are analyzed, accessed, and those analysis, those accessed facts, figures, methodologies, see I have mentioned over here, all the problems, all the structure, all the technical lecture has objective, purpose, problem, and then scope. Generally, as I have already mentioned that there are certain topics in a particular subject which even is dealt in other subjects, right? You study about cell in geology, you study about cell even in botany, but the cell understanding in botany and the cell understanding in geology is different, their perspectives are different. So, you have to understand when I say about scope, scope is in itself somewhere relates the boundary of knowledge which he will be touching in his lecture. So, he tries to define, and how he creates the boundary in the lecture, he first defines anything. By giving the definition of the topic, he tries to use certain key terms, key words, and by those key words, key terms, what he does is he defines the boundary, and in that boundary only he will start talking. He won't deviate, cross that boundary, and that boundary in itself is a scope. The direction and the pathway are automatically clear to the students that yes, now whatsoever sir is going to talk is related to the key terms that he has narrated while giving the definition. So, at the same time, the moment you talk about scope, limitation comes into role, means if this is to be talked, there are n number of other things that is not to be discussed and talked or shared or conversed or communicated about. Then methods, what that topic demands, what that particular issue or the problem at hand demands, what methods are used. If somebody is teaching you in a chemistry or if somebody is teaching you in physics how to use a one year caliper, means what, that particular device is fixed, the instrument is fixed, and if that instrument is fixed and the concept related to the instrument is fixed, then what the faculty will do, what the lab instructor will do, he will only talk how that vernier caliper is being used in the physics from understanding that particular physical dimension of materials, right. So, when I say method means subject specific, issue specific, problem specific, he will share that. So, try to listen to him when he is sharing the method, when he is sharing the scope, when he is sharing the limitation, when he is sharing the problem, when he is sharing the purpose, when he is sharing the objective. The moment you are clear about these all things, you know what, in near future you can make the necessary changes and develop your own personal concepts, which is very much required. Why? What I mean to say by generating your personal concepts, I mean to say that, you know what, 4 years back the syllabus of BTech was different. After 4 years the syllabus of the BTech would change. Means if you start mugging, memorizing all the subject matter that is going to be delivered in the BTech span of time, hey, after 4 years if it has changed, then what is the use of that subject matter? Constantly from time to time the syllabus changes as per university's requirement. They feel the market, they feel the demand of the industry, corporate world, and as per that the necessary changes are incorporated, inculcated in the syllabus. So, it's not, knowledge is not memorizing all the time, it is one of the essential element, but what you have to know is you have to develop concepts, you have to develop new concepts, your own understanding, right, and that own understanding can be in later course of time. First is understanding the concept and then generating your own opinion and objective or your own perception related to the concepts. And understanding means you have to understand how the lectures are delivered. Fine. Then results. While if a faculty is talking about some methods, if the faculty is talking about some scope, if the faculty is taking a problem at hand and deciding the objective, why and how that problem will be accessed, how that particular problem will be targeted, approached, with what assumptions, with what attitude, then your understanding will be not only proper, but it will be complete. Fine. So, this is very important. Fine. Not only this, there are other things that you have to be understood. There are times lecture is not monotonous. Different lecture demands different role of a faculty members or the expert or the technical lecture delivery person, the resource person. You know why? Sometimes he is authoritative. He clearly, even technical lectures are taken in a chemistry lab, physics lab, or some CS lab, or some mechanical lab, or in an EC or a double E lab, where there what the faculty technical expert does is, he doesn't only gives you information, at the same time he gives you instructions. So, you should be very clear what instruction, how to handle. What is instruction? Instruction is method based. What and how you should deploy, execute a particular activity, the action plan, right. So, you should be very clear, you understand the instructions. What happens generally if you do not understand the instructions related to a particular lab, then you are not able to carry on with the experiment, right, and your lab instructor or the faculty member now and then tells you, hey, this is not to be carried this way, hey, the beaker will fail and hey, you're lighting the flame too much. It is not required to be lit so much. So, instruction. So, there are times where the faculty will be authoritative when classroom lecture is delivered. In the lab, what he will do is, he will be a modulator, facilitator. Facilitator means what? Facilitator means he will have minimum role. Maximum role will be the practical doer or the student or the person who is participating in executing, implementing those concepts, theories learnt in the class. So, he has different roles to play, as I have already mentioned. See, there are times he will be authoritative in nature, there are times he will demonstrate. How lab is carried forward? First, the lab instructor or the faculty demonstrates, see, this is a vernier caliper, this is a beaker, this is a flame, this is acid, this is base, this is litmus paper. First he demonstrates himself how the experiment is to be carried forward, right, and the students, the recipients observe how the faculty or the lab instructor is doing it, and then he tries to imitate, he tries to copy the fundas, the technique.